Welcome everyone to the Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture Wednesday webinars. Today we're going to be talking about hiring farm employees, process and recommendations by Shannon Dill, University of Maryland Extension. All of our webinars are recorded at the blue URL here, www.extension.umd.edu/womeninag. Upcoming ones include starting a specialty food business, resources for new and beginning farmers, as well as the Food Safety Modernization Act. So feel free to join us at those. Again, you can go to the web link to get more information. We'd also like to thank our sponsors for their assistance with the program, as well as the collaborators you see below who we work with. Getting started today, hiring farm employees, process and recommendations. I'm Shannon Dill. I'm an extension educator for University of Maryland Extension. Here's my contact information, phone number, and email. And we're going to go over creating a hiring process, some hiring resources, and recommendations for success. I'm not going to be talking too much about the legal requirements, just making sure everyone understands, and I think we all realize that there's definitely legal implications when workers, apprentices, trainers, people, the public are on your farm. It includes liability and legal requirements. For employees, it includes tax implications and payroll issues. And so just a recommendation to seeking professional advice, whether it's through an attorney, an accountant, someone that helps you set up payroll, but making sure that you're meeting all the legal requirements related to having employees and people on your farm. With that, we're going to go ahead and start the session today, which is the hiring process. Setting up a hiring process is an important thing to consider. It keeps you on schedule. It helps create a timeline for having your employees in place. It communicates with applicants that you need an employee and they need a job. It helps you choose the right employee in a fair and equitable manner. And there are regulations, there are legal issues related to making sure you're doing a fair and equitable process in hiring. The cost of hiring the wrong person may exceed the time spent to find the right person. So some of the things we may discuss today might seem like it takes time, but again, finding the right person is more important. So the first part of it is developing the position that you're hiring for. So having a job description that's detailed with requirements of the position or the duties and responsibilities, as well as what are the qualifications needed for a person in that position. What is the necessary knowledge and skills needed, as well as there may be educational or experience that are needed for the job. There's often that other duties as assigned that will be placed in there in case maybe one day you've got someone at a farm stand and you need someone in the field or back to the farm stand or answering the phone. So making sure that that's listed there in case there's other support that needs to happen in an emergency. List working conditions. This is important to have up front, whether they're going to be lifting. Some will say, it's a requirement to lift 20 pounds or 50 pounds. If there's outside work, outdoors work, evening and weekends, that way people know ahead of time. Also, often we'll have listed the need for a valid driver's license, and then the wage or benefits would be listed as well. That way people know that they're going to be paid hourly, salary, how many hours a week is it full-time, part-time, and that type of information. Next comes the job posting, contact, and a closing date. So on the job posting, if they have questions, who should they contact, and when should the application or a resume and references be submitted by? I think a minimum of 2 weeks is important to kind of have a position open. It allows people the time to put things together, update a resume if needed, and get it to you. Share with friends, acquaintances, anyone connected in your circle, local organizations. They're very helpful in spreading the word out if you are looking for an employee. And then posting on your website having the job description on your website, putting a link on there, using social media. If you have a Facebook page, you can put out a post that you're, help wanted. You can post to other pages. Maybe you're a member of an organization or a chamber of commerce or something where you can get connected and get that job announcement out there, that posting out there. And I know a lot of people have been using Craigslist recently with good success, having it posted on there as a classified. You also want to consider who is going to be involved in reviewing and interviewing, kind of that committee, who's going to be together, if it's going to be you, and having a second person is nice. It gives a second opinion, allows you to say, did you see something that I didn't see? Maybe I saw something that you didn't see, and be able to discuss that. So having a second person to share your thoughts with is helpful. So once you have the job description and the posting, hopefully you start getting candidates applying for the position. You want to be prepared to mail, email, or fax the full job description to interested applicants. Again, if it's posted online, you can just send them the link. But if they want to see the full job description, so an example is in the paper, you may only have 2 or 3 sentences. You don't want to pay for a full job description. On your website, you could have a full page that has really a lot more detail about the position. Be clear what applications should include and when they should be delivered by. So do you want references up front? Do you need to see certifications, transcripts, bring a copy of your driver's license, any of that stuff that you wanted up front, and when they should be delivered by. So that way everyone knows the date. Then you kind of close the search. So after the date, you say, okay, let's review these applicants. Let's sit down and review them. Often I'd like to set up 3 piles. You have your yes pile, your no pile, and then you have that maybe pile of candidates that maybe don't have exact qualifications, but that potentially could do the position. And then decide on how many you want to have come in for interviews. I think a minimum of 3 is great. If you've got 3 good candidates for the position, remembering that just because they applied doesn't mean they're going to accept the position. So having a minimum of 3 is helpful. Prepare for and schedule the interviews. So ahead of time, there might be, documentation that you want to see. Bring your resume or transcripts or licenses or references, and I capitalize references because, again, following up on those references are important. Deciding on interview questions. You want to ask the same questions to all the candidates. You can ask some follow-ups, but you really should follow that where everyone is getting asked the same thing, and that way you can compare them to each other. Definitely use behavioral type questions and avoid yes or no questions. So say you want to know about their communication skills. You want to say something like, tell us about your communication skills, or can you give us an example of how you communicate with a customer or an employer? Instead of asking the question, do you have good communication skills, which is kind of a yes or no question. Definitely refrain from asking any questions about age, sex, ethnic origin, race, religion, political beliefs, or medical conditions and disabilities. Those are off the table to ask. You're not allowed to, discriminate on positions related to those issues, and so you don't want to ask those questions or anything related to that. For small talk, often you have some small talk when a candidate first sits down, kind of an icebreaker. We always say the weather is a great thing to discuss. When you're working on a farm, you could discuss the weather for quite a while, so that's always a good one. And then you can determine from those interview questions kind of the acceptable or not acceptable candidates. During the interview, be prepared to answer questions about schedules, hours, expectations from the employee. Remember, they're interviewing you as well, trying to decide if that's somewhere that they want to work. Decide on when decisions will be made and when you'll be back in touch with the applicant. So, we'll be in touch by the end of the week. We'll be in touch in 5 to 7 days. Anything like that is really helpful. A lot of the research I've done, I agree as well, not to hire on the spot. Both the interviewer and candidate need time to reflect. The 5 to 7 days would give you time to follow up with references. And again, you can reflect on how that interview was. So when you decide to, so you've moved from the interview to selecting the candidate, review acceptable candidates, so look back through their resumes, go back through the position and what the description and qualification, what the job is, and how does that candidate match with that. What are the candidate's abilities and potential? And then also, so then the next step would be to consider and rank the candidates by the traits that you want for the position. So are you looking for dependability, positive attitude, their aptitude, their abilities, any of those things? And again, reference checks help with that. A little bit about reference checks. By phone is the best. You get some discussion. Email follow-up, you kind of get short or really fast responses. A phone call you can gauge the person's tone better, their voice, how they feel about that employee. Phone appointment's great, so you could send an email. I'd like to, so-and-so has listed you as a reference. I'd like to follow up at, here's 3 time slots that we could discuss this by phone. Contact more than one. So often the employee would apply, or the interviewee would provide 3 to 5 references. So definitely follow up with more than one of them. Decide on 3 to 5 questions to ask, and really ask all of the references the same, and make notes based on those. This is just a list of examples. How would you rate XYZ employee on attendance, reliability, interpersonal skills, time management, again, anything that really relates to that position. Also asking their strengths and weaknesses, as well as the amount of supervision they may need. Are you going to have an employee that's going to go to the farmer's market by themselves, run the farm stand by themselves, manage other employees? So what type of supervision do they need? And then often a reference will be asked, would you hire them again? And a professional reference will be asked, would you hire that employee again? It is a courtesy not to call an applicant's present employer unless they've got them listed as a reference. That way it keeps any confidentiality. That way they may be uncomfortable having their employer know that they're looking for another job. So some information about following up on candidates. So we've done maybe a reference check on our top candidate, or maybe our top 2 candidates. The next is employee information. The internet provides a lot out there right now. You can Google someone's name and you can get details related to their maybe past work history, their education, a criminal record, financial history, medical history, their use on social media. Just keep in mind that equity is it's important, and it is the law. You cannot discriminate based on race, color, national origin, sex or religion, disability, genetic information, including family medical history, age. And these laws are enforced by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, and this is the link based here. You can look that information up. It is illegal as well in certain states, and I would definitely not recommend asking for social media passwords. Evidently, employers have been asking for that, and they're not allowed to ask for passwords so they can go into social media and see what is being said. And this comes right from the EEOC. If legally protected characteristics are revealed, which would not otherwise be apparent in a face-to-face interview, a claim can be made that a decision not to hire was based on that characteristic. So again, if you look someone's information up and you don't hire them based on something that you found online of one of those things that are protected, then you can be legally responsible for that. So making sure that you follow that. Lots of good information on that website. I would recommend looking at having that bookmarked and checking it. So once you have a new employee, you would select the applicant, okay? Then you negotiate terms. Maybe there's wage, maybe there's hours you need to discuss. Maybe it's exactly when a start date can happen. Some people have a signed contract. Depending on your business, you may not do that. You will need to acquire all documentation needed to make them an employee. So that includes I-9s, licenses, any W-4s, any of that kind of information would be needed. Set a date and prepare training for an orientation, and make sure you block some time out for this. It's going to take a little bit of time to get them trained and oriented. Get back in touch with applicants that interviewed and were not selected. Employee management and training does take time, so again, scheduling enough time for regular meetings or check-ins will be important. Have a conversation about communication. What are preferred methods of communication? You know, if it's, you know, a high school or college age, maybe it's texting that's going to be a better way to communicate. If work schedules change, do you do a work schedule by the month? Do you do it by the week? What happens in emergencies or other issues arise? Having employee handbook, any written policies, expectations, standard operating procedures is really great to have. It's something that on the first day or first week employees can do. Some businesses require employees to sign off on handbooks, but you know, it could be reading, say, a fact sheet on food safety about hand washing, or handling our customer service, or something along those lines, so the new employee can get up to speed and understand your expectations. So that is what the employee handbook does. It states expectations for employees, including policies and procedures, and how they're expected to behave and perform. Templates and examples, lots of them online. Don't start with a blank sheet. They give a great outline as to what can be included in an employee handbook. Personnel policies, leave, pay, hours, attendance, cell phones, probation, reviews, alcohol, drugs, sexual harassment, foreign vehicles. All of those are types of things. Maybe it's dress code. All of those can be stated in an employee handbook, so that they have it in writing and understanding. Maybe it's closed-toe shoes. Maybe it's, you know, no recording of our animals, or maybe it's, you know, no posting on social media during work hours. So what are in those employee handbooks? Standard operating procedure is a little bit different. These are the SOPs. This is a written document that includes step-by-step instructions. It's compiled by a business, and it helps workers carry out routine operations. One of the best examples would be maybe handling money. So if you've got a cashier, they're taking money at a farmer's market, or they're taking money at, say, a farm stand. Maybe it's, you know, you get a $100 bill, there's somebody to check a $100 bill. Maybe it's how we make change. Maybe it's how we have a return policy. We get a complaint at the farmer's market that something didn't taste right or it was bad. Can they give a free sample or a free product to them? So again, the step-by-step instructions compiled by a business, lots of examples out there. It really provides efficiency, quality, and uniformity, as well as reducing miscommunication, errors, and failure to comply with regulations. So if there's any regulations based on food safety, or how you want things managed, it will be important. And then this is just an example of what could be there. So just in summary, kind of the search process: create a job description, post the position, answer any calls or questions about the position, close the position, review the candidates, both come in, yes, no, or maybe interview, conduct the interviews and decide who's acceptable and not acceptable, decide, make a selection on an acceptable candidate, negotiate the terms and set a start date, complete employee paperwork, notify those that do not receive the position, and then conduct new employee orientation, as well as time for regular meetings and evaluation process. some resources available. There's lots of templates out there. Again, blank. Don't start with a blank sheet. There's some outlines, some great ideas, helpful verbiage to use. So check those out. These 3 sites have some great employee-related information, contracts, letters, again, handbooks. And then also here is a sample rejection letter. So if you do have people that come in and apply for a position, you can send them a quick letter about why they were not selected. Okay, with that, thank you very much for today's webinar on hiring farm employees. We will be posted on Facebook and have the slides available on our Women in Ag website, www.extension.umd.edu/womeninag. Thank you.